What's up, everybody? This is Acting Like Tommy. This is my round 3 FaZe5 submission. The theme was a day in the life, and I had originally intended on just showing you what I do day to day, but they said we could get creative with this, and I really feel like to appreciate what I do every day, you need to know where I came from. Because I wasn't always this fearless, bold guy that you see before you. And in fact, I used to be quite scared. I moved around a lot, going back and forth between these different states. And it all starts in the state of Wisconsin in 1969. I was the youngest of 7 kids, and I feel like my competitive vibe started right then. Because I was always seeing older kids do things that I couldn't do. And that's kind of really where my grind began. The only house I remember from this time was this little house that all 9 of us lived in on Bonner Street. But right before kindergarten, we moved again to a small town called Elkhorn, population 3,000. Now, this is the first house that I remember living in. And we didn't have Fortnite, but we did get the first commercially available video game. We had Pong. This is how my gaming started, all right? I also had my first experience in Elkhorn being my truly unique self. And it came in 1976 during the bicentennial, when everybody in America was having these 4th of July bicentennial parades, and all the kids got to decorate their bikes for this parade. And of course, you might imagine everybody was just decked out in red, white, and blue. And I showed up to this parade with my bike decorated like an army tank. Yes, I was the only person not with the red, white, and blue. And I was loving every minute of it. I didn't care that I stuck out because it was me. That's what I was into at that time. That was me. That was just who I was. And that was the first time I really put it out there like that. Then we had an impromptu vacation to Universal Studios in California. And it changed the course of everything because immediately my dad decided to sell the house and pack us up. And we moved to LA just like that. Now, I love the sun and I love the pool, but I hated my school and I had trouble adjusting to the big city at first. In particular, on my way to school, I had to go through this tunnel under the 405 freeway. It was the only way to get there. The bullies used to wait for me at the end of this tunnel, waiting for my lunch money, waiting to pick on me. I mean, I tried to avoid it. I would fake asthma attacks. I would sometimes throw myself down these stairs, feigning injury. But most days, I just had to pony up. I had to show up. I had to stop at the end of the tunnel and be like, all right, man, here we go. Let's do this. Let's go, baby. I learned that sometimes you just got to tough it out. You got to do what you got to do, even if it's going to be unpleasant. You know what I mean? And so we did it. Eventually, by halfway through that year, my parents decided to move to North Hollywood. I went to a new school, and my older sister got this new boyfriend who was into Dr. Pepper in the bottles, and he turned me on to the band Kiss. And that was life-changing for me because it planted the seed of my rock and roll dreams. It ignited my passion to be a rock star. After a crazy rock and roll summer, we were back to Watertown, Wisconsin again, starting 4th grade in my 4th elementary school in as many grades. We lived in this little house on Mary Street, and my 2 passions here were reading encyclopedias about anything and everything, just acquiring whatever knowledge I could, and watching Ken Stabler lead the Oakland Raiders on TV. And now I'm telling you, the Raiders are still a lifelong passion of mine. And Ken Stabler and the Oakland Raiders, they taught me how to win. They taught me how to never give up. They taught me that it ain't over till it's over, baby. And you can always pull it off at the end if you just believe. This was huge for me. Another thing that happens, we moved over to this pad on River Drive, and Star Wars came to the little theater in Watertown. And me and one of my friends snuck into this theater, and we stayed there all day and watched Star Wars like 3 or 4 times, hid under the seats. That movie blew me away because it was a story of somebody who went off chasing his destiny. It got me believing in destiny. It got me believing in chasing the big dream. And then before long, though, we were off again. We were going back to California to the same apartment. Don't look at me. I didn't make these decisions. But this time, because I didn't like that other school, they put me in a different school, which was better, yeah, but I had to walk 2 miles to it every single day. I guess you just, you got to put in the work, right? And then we moved down to Orange County, to Placentia. I didn't like the school. I didn't like the neighborhood. There's really nothing I liked about the move. But two big things happened. One, I had my first crush. And two, MTV arrived. And that forever changed my relationship to music and moving images. The TikToking I do today is still influenced by those early years of MTV. I mean, I was just blown away by this. MTV became my new obsession.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We only lasted 1 year down in Orange County before we were back to Watertown. But this time things were different. I was starting to come into my own. I was starting to see the power of the universe. And I was starting to believe in stuff. Now, remember the boyfriend I mentioned, the guy who introduced me to Kiss? We were living in this house on 3rd Street. And that boyfriend came from California, decided to burn our house down. And I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It was a little endless love for me, but whatever. But anyway, I, as an 8th grader, mounted the investigation and gathered the evidence that sent him packing, which was amazing. And then I also fell madly in love for the first time. Now, here's where the universe came into play, because I was madly in love with this girl. And, our house had been burned, so we had to move, right? So we move into this apartment, and guess where we moved? We moved to the Dewey Avenue apartments, where the love of my life's parents managed the building. So now I was living right across from her. And it was amazing. Yes, it was. And then I got my first job delivering newspapers so I could pay for my trips to the arcade so I could play games. I was really into my Atari 2600. Pitfall was like the big deal at the time, man. We were gaming, we were loving, we were remoting. Back in those days, the cable boxes were new to Watertown, Wisconsin. I discovered every cable box worked with the same remote. So we used to go around at night with remotes and go through the windows changing people's channels. Or we'd go to a house where everyone was asleep. We'd turn on MTV and blast it and wake everyone in the house up and then watch from across the street and just laugh our asses off. Oh! It was amazing. It was just good, clean fun. But I was always thinking of the next great idea. And it was also then during 9th grade where I made a major decision. I was discovering that I had big dreams and I needed the big city. I needed to get out of the small town. My dad was having trouble finding a job, so I took it upon myself to make the bold move. And I called one of his old bosses up in California. I arranged for him to get a job back, and then I sprung it on my parents that I had found him a job. It was in California. We were moving back to LA. And I told them, if you guys move back again, I'm not leaving LA. Like, I need the big city. I'm going there. And off we went. And high school was a whirlwind. I went to one high school, Hoover High in Glendale. I kicked the ass of a bully in front of the entire water polo team in the equipment room. I became a competitive swimmer, went to junior nationals, right? Everything was looking good, graduated near the top of my class, and off I go to UCLA. And now it was there as a freshman in college that I discovered that things started to catch up with me. Horrific stuff happened when I was a kid, and I'll spare you the gory details, but coming to terms with some of the abuse and the alcoholic parents and the chaos of my family life, it all started to catch up with me, the drugs and the alcohol and the rock and roll lifestyle. But in the end, it was this devotion to creativity. It was this dedication to my creative process that saved me. And that and a lot of therapy. What hasn't changed through all this is my method. It's what I do. I am about the process, loving the process, living the process. I see the tunnel and I get in there. I'm not so much worried about the end result as I am about living large, grinding tirelessly, taking smart chances, and getting into the game. Because that's where I want to be, boss. I want to be on the field. And that's how I do it today. Whether I'm streaming, social mediaing, spending time live on TikTok, I am in the game. Just doing what I do and loving every minute of this crazy adventure we call life. The ups, the downs, all of it. I tell you what, boss, I wouldn't have it any other way. FaZe up! Let's go! Day in the life, alright. Haven't slept in almost 3 days. I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made it to FaZe. And though the news was rather sad for some, I just had to laugh. I saw his pink-haired photograph. He blew our minds out with his heart. He didn't notice that things couldn't be done. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before, but nobody was really sure if he was gonna win it all.